Welcome to a journey across an island that defies simple categorization. This is Taiwan, but it is not just a place on a map. It is a living, breathing archive of human history, natural forces, and cultural collision. In this video, we will explore Taiwan through a unique lens, not as a single static nation, but as an island of overlapping empires. We will dive deep into its tectonic culture, uncover its hidden historical layers, and navigate the rich, sensory landscapes that make it completely unique in the modern world. Whether you are a historian, a traveler, or someone fascinated by how the past shapes the present, consider this your ultimate field guide to an island, where the past doesn't just sit in a museum, it lives on every street corner. To understand Taiwan, you must first sit with its contradictions. Look at the global map. Here is an island roughly the size of the Netherlands or Denmark, yet it stands as one of the most significant hubs of the modern world. It presents us with an absolute enigma, built on three fascinating paradoxes. First, high tech and ancient faith. How does an island that manufactures the world's most advanced microchips, the silicon brains powering our global AI and tech infrastructure, also maintain the highest density of traditional shamanistic temples on Earth? Second, the geopolitical edge. How does a land perpetually caught on the literal and figurative fault lines of competing global empires manage to forge and maintain the most vibrant, open democracy in Asia? Third, the culinary capital. How did this specific rugged terrain shape a street food culture that rivals the world's greatest culinary capitals? Over the next 20 minutes, we are going to untangle these paradoxes by looking at the layers that created them. Before we talk about history or geology, let's talk about the immediate sensation of simply being there. The modern Taiwanese atmosphere is unapologetically loud, incredibly safe, and deeply polite. It is a sensory rush quite unlike anywhere else. As you walk the streets of a Taiwanese city, you are physically moving through distinct layers of time all at once. Step outside your hotel, and your senses are hit with a brilliant, chaotic symphony. The sharp aroma of fermented stinky tofu bubbling from a night market stall, the warm exhaust of 1,000 passing scooters, and the sweet, grounding scent of sandalwood incense drifting from an open temple door. It is a hyper-accelerated, fast-paced society, yet it remains profoundly anchored by an ancient, unwavering spiritual pulse. To experience Taiwan is to realize that the ancient and the futuristic don't just tolerate each other here, they actively feed off one another. To find the root of this hybrid culture, we have to look straight down at the earth beneath our feet. Taiwan's entire identity was forged by the violent friction of tectonic plates. Here, the Eurasian plate and the Philippine Sea plate smash into one another, pushing the island upward and carving out a highly strategic two-sided geography. On one side, we have the gentle landing pad, the Western Plains. These flat, fertile plains facing China became the natural crucible for overlapping colonizers. Over centuries, the Dutch, the Spanish, the Ming, the Qing, and the Japanese all landed here, seeking to control and cultivate the land. On the other side, we have the unconquerable high altitude, the Central Mountain Range, and places like Yushan, rising nearly 4,000 meters, alongside the impenetrable marble walls of Taroko Gorge. These massive mountains acted as a natural fortress, preserving the ancient, matriarchal Austronesian indigenous cultures for over 6,000 years, shielding them from complete assimilation by the waves of empires below. Geography, in essence, dictated destiny. Living on an island defined by constant change, where regimes turn over, typhoons strike annually, and earthquakes routinely shake the ground, has forged a hyper-adaptable local temperament. We call this the crossroads mindset. Taiwanese society is radically open to foreign innovation, yet fiercely protective of traditional community bonds. Nowhere is this beautifully bizarre synergy more evident than what we call the Kwai node. If you walk into a world-class semiconductor fabrication plant or a cutting-edge server room in Taiwan, you will inevitably spot bright green bags of a popular coconut corn snack called Kwai resting on top of multi-million-dollar tech equipment. Why? Because in Mandarin, Kwai means be good or behave, and the green bag symbolizes a green all-clear light. It is the ultimate symbol of the local mind, utilizing world-class engineering while respectfully appeasing the spirits to ensure the machines behave. This spiritual anchoring means that Taiwan has preserved a religious landscape that has been altered or lost elsewhere. Across the island, you will encounter a temple, church, or shrine roughly every single square kilometer, an unbroken sanctuary. Unlike the Chinese mainland, which experienced the systematic destruction of traditional culture during the Cultural Revolution, Taiwan never experienced state-sanctioned erasure of its spiritual heritage, a living polytheistic mosaic. Instead, it became the ultimate sanctuary for traditional Buddhism, Taoism, and indigenous animism. When you step into a Taiwanese temple, like the iconic Mengjia Longshan Temple shown here, you aren't looking at a carefully curated museum piece. You are breathing in centuries of unbroken, unerased devotion. The smoke from the incense burners today rises from the exact same faith that sustained the islanders centuries ago. To truly understand southern Taiwan, you have to meet one of the most cinematic figures in global history, Koxinga. Born to a Japanese mother and a Chinese pirate father, Koxinga was the ultimate maritime hybrid. He was a man caught between worlds, operating on the shifting tides of the 17th century. In 1662, he led a massive fleet to expel the Dutch East India Company from Taiwan, establishing the very first Han Chinese state on the island as a base of defiance against the Qing dynasty. The tangible proof of his legacy is woven tightly into the fabric of modern Taiwan. When you walk through Tainan today, you are walking through his defiant refuge. You can still physically feel his legacy in the sweet incense smoke at the shrine of Koxinga and in the ancient weathered bricks of Chikan Tower. He anchored the island's identity firmly into the maritime world. Historical origin, cultural DNA. Where to taste it? Beef noodle soup, 1940 ROC military villages. Born in the makeshift military villages, or bianjiang, this dish is a spicy, hearty synthesis of mainland Chinese regional flavors, created by displaced soldiers longing for home, using local Taiwanese ingredients. Taipei's back alley noodle shops. The Southern Sweetness. Dutch and Qing Dynasty. Early colonizers turned southern Taiwan into a massive sugarcane plantation economy. Because sugar was a luxury, adding it to savory dishes became a local flex of wealth and prestige. Tainan's distinctively sweet braised pork rice, lo ro fan. The railway bento. Japanese imperial era, 1895 to 1945. The introduction of precise railway infrastructure brought the biendang, bento, culture, a beautiful, enduring fusion of Japanese packaging format with comforting Taiwanese fried pork chops. Alishan Forest Railway Stations. Just as the history is cooked into the food, it is built directly into the architecture. You can read the rise and fall of empires simply by looking at the walls around you. Consider these three distinct building blocks found across the island. First, the Dutch brick, found at places like Fort Zeelandia in Tainan. These coarse, red remnants of the 17th century global spice trade show how Taiwan was wired into early Western maritime mercantilism. Second, the Qing sweeping eaves. Look at the Confucius temples and Longshan Temple. The elegant, gravity-defying sweeping eaves represent the physical manifestation of Han settlement and classical Chinese orthodoxy. Third, the Japanese imperial red brick, exemplified by the presidential office building in Taipei. This heavy, neoclassical architecture reflects the aggressive modernization, industrialization, and institutionalization of the island in the early 20th century. Three entirely different worlds, all occupying the same horizon. When you stack all these elements together, You get what we call the tectonic culture model. Taiwan's turbulent history of overlapping conquerors and constant friction did not fracture its society. Instead, it forged an incredibly dense, inclusive mosaic. All eras coexist simultaneously. Think about a typical afternoon in Taiwan. You will buy bubble tea from a high-tech kiosk, stand under the shadow of a grand Japanese-era civic building, and listen to traditional Taoist chants echoing from a nearby temple, all on the exact same street corner. As you can see in this diagram, the layers build upward, from indigenous Austronesian roots through European maritime trade, Qing temples, Japanese infrastructure, right up to modern democracy and tech innovation. It is a masterclass in coexistence within a shared space. If you want to see this tectonic culture model completely come to life, you go to the night market. The night market is not just a place to eat. It is the physical culmination of the island's history happening live under the glow of neon signs. Look closely at the stalls around you, and you will see the timeline laid out on plates. You have indigenous mountain boar sausages sizzling on an open grill right next to mainland-style pepper buns baked inside traditional clay ovens. Step a few pieces further, and you'll find Japanese-influenced seafood and tempura techniques adapted to local tastes. And tying it all together, the crossroads mindset, served on a skewer, delivered with the hyper-efficient, deeply warm modern Taiwanese hospitality. To help you experience this firsthand, we have mapped out 3 distinct travel itineraries. Let's start with Route 1, the Northern Time Capsule. This route focuses heavily on the friction between Qing Dynasty river trade, Japanese colonial architecture, and the modern ROC capital. Stop 1. Tamsui. Stand at Fort San Domingo, overlooking the river where the Spanish and Dutch once watched the water, and feel the early days of global trade. Stop 2. Jiufen. Journey into the mountains to walk the steep, lantern-lit stone stairs of this Gold Rush-era mining town, a place that deeply echoes Japanese architectural sensibilities and nostalgic charm. Stop 3. Taipei. Conclude in the bustling capital to trace the complex history of the ROC retreat at the National Palace Museum, housing over 690,000 historical treasures. If you want to step away from the urban centers and immerse yourself directly into the raw power of the land, Route 2, the Central and Eastern Wilds, is your path. Here, you will witness the tectonic forces and the ancient roots of the Austronesian people. Stop 1, Taraco Gorge. Drive through massive, breathtaking marble canyons forged by millions of years of tectonic collision. Historically, the unconquerable domain of Taiwan's indigenous tribes. Stop 2, Sun Moon Lake. Visit the stunning ancestral waters of the Thaw tribe, experiencing the vital preservation of pre-colonial culture and storytelling. Stop 3, Alishan. Board the historic forest railway, originally built to extract ancient giant cypress trees, and wind your way up through mist-shrouded, high-altitude tea plantations. Finally, to touch the oldest, deepest layers of the island's maritime history, you must travel down to Route 3, the Southern Cradle. This is where Taiwan's written history truly began. Stop 1, Anping. Explore the coastal cradle and touch the 17th century brickwork of the Dutch Fort Zeelandia, where global trade routes crossed centuries ago. Stop 2, Tainan City. Eat the distinctively sweet braised pork rice in the literal shadow of Koxinga's Qikon Tower, and walk through Taiwan's very first Confucius temple. Stop 3, Kaohsiung. Witness the island's modern reinvention by exploring its transformation from a gritty, industrial maritime port into a vibrant, modern hub of arts and culture, best seen at the Pier 2 Art Center. We have traveled from the deep tectonic collisions that raised these mountains to the high-tech clean rooms making tomorrow's technology, from the pirate kings of the South to the neon-soaked night markets of the North. Now you know why the streets look the way they do. You know why the food tastes the way it does. And you know how to feel the pulse of the past in the rush of the modern day. Taiwan's history isn't buried under the earth. It is alive, vibrant, and waiting for you on the ground. The only question left is which layer of Taiwan will you choose to walk through first? Pack your bags. The evidence is waiting.